up, guys? I'm back, man, with another video. Just left the gym, had a great workout. Really good way to start my weekend. Today is Saturday. Not sure when you guys are gonna watch this video, but yeah, I got some family in town. My brother came in to visit for the weekend, so we'll be hanging out. But I wanted to go ahead and drop this video today, man, because this is something that I was thinking about. Some of the biggest money mistakes that truck drivers make, and I'm included in this conversation, right? I'm definitely guilty of some of the things that I'm going to be talking about today, so I'm not exempt from making these mistakes. But let's go ahead and get into it, man. And these aren't in any specific order. There's no, quantity that I came up with. It's just a few mistakes that I want to share with you guys. You may be guilty of making some of these mistakes yourself, or if you haven't, maybe you can avoid some of these mistakes. So the first mistake, money mistake, that truck drivers make is, number one, man, just simply not knowing the total amount of your living expenses. There's somebody watching this video right now that has never took the time to write down your living expenses and calculate those expenses to see how much are you actually spending on the things that you have to pay every month. Mortgage, rent, utilities, car notes, insurance, etc. How much money do you have going out? It's very important to know those numbers. If you don't know the answer to that question, then it makes sense as to why you're surprised at the end of the month. Where's the money going? What happened to the money? Well, the money probably went to the bills that you didn't know you had. Or maybe you spent the money on some other items that you may not have necessarily needed, but you didn't know what you had going out for the month. You didn't really know what your bills were, so you just thought it was just extra income and you spent it. That's very easy to do if you don't know what your expenses are. So that's one of the mistakes, the biggest money mistakes that truck drivers make, just not knowing your numbers. So if you're watching this video right now and you don't know your numbers, after this video, take out a sheet of paper and just think about all the expenses that you have and calculate those expenses and see what that total number is. And then obviously you look at how much money you're making on a monthly basis and then subtract that number, right? Do the math and see what you have left over. That way you know what to do with that income that you have left over. Do you have enough money to where you can put towards some debt? Do you have enough money left over to where you can save? Do you have enough money left over to where you can invest, right? Do you have enough money left over where you can splurge a little bit, right? So that's the first one. The second one, the second biggest money mistake that truck drivers make is not having an emergency fund, man. Not having an emergency fund. Listen, the last statistic that I've read was that 44% of Americans did not have $1,000 in their savings account to take care of unexpected expenses. That's liquid cash. I'm not talking about charging something on a credit card. 44% of Americans do not have $1,000 in their savings account to take care of unexpected expenses. So one mistake that you definitely want to avoid is falling into that category. You definitely want to save up an emergency fund if you don't already have one. That's very important. Life happens, things happen. Whether it be a car repair, whether it be a home repair, right? Whether it be a medical expense, or maybe you're helping somebody else out, a family member that, needs some financial support in some way or another. Or, maybe you get injured on the job, right? Have to go out on workers' comp. We all know workers' comp is just, a percentage of your pay. So you're not getting full pay for being out. And maybe, you can't survive on that small percentage. Or we can look at a worst case scenario, and let's just say you get laid off from your job, right? And you lose your income entirely. Now you have to search for another job. There's no guarantee that you're gonna find a job the next day. So I remember when I was laid off, for example, this is my brother right here. All right, guys, I'm back, man. My bad, I had to get that phone call. My brother was calling me. But yeah, what I was saying was, I remember when I was laid off, I didn't find a job, right? My plan was to take a month off just to relax, which I did. I just kind of wanted to chill for a little bit, get my thoughts together and figure out what my next move was going to be. But during the time I was laid off, I was applying for jobs, but the jobs that were calling me were jobs that I really wasn't interested in. So I probably could have got a job, but it was, doing something that I didn't necessarily want to do. So that's when I actually went to trucking school and got my CDL. So yeah, you never know how long it's gonna be once you get laid off from a job. You could find a job right away, or it may take a month, 2 months, 3 months, even longer. I've seen some people take 6 months to a year to find something else. Now, that's probably a little bit extreme, but some people have been in that situation. So again, that's why it's important to have that emergency fund to fall back on in the event you do lose your job, right? So having an emergency fund is very important, and it's definitely a major mistake if you don't have one. All right, so the next biggest mistake that truck drivers make is if you have a seasonal type of job. Let's take LTL and food service, for example. Those are pretty good paying jobs. However, there are periods throughout the course of the year where it slows down a bit. And the smart people, or the people who have experience in these industries and have been in them long enough, they know that you have to put money away for the slow periods, because it's just a matter of time before, in LTL, for example, freight slows up. In food service, you may not be getting as many cases as you once were when it was busy. So that's gonna cause you to not make as much money, right? And so, for those of us that's been in the industry, we know that. But for somebody that's new getting into these particular jobs, you may not know. So if you get in when business is booming and it's super busy, you're going to be getting those good paychecks, and you think that there's going to be the same amount of pay year round. And then what's going to happen is, if you're not good with managing your money, you could be spending a lot of that money that you should actually be saving for times when it does slow down. So that can create some financial issues if you never put money away for those slow periods. So understand what type of job you have, figure out whether or not there are, slow periods, and then you got to act accordingly. And so that's definitely one of the biggest mistakes that truck drivers make, not planning ahead financially. You got to realize what industry you're in. And it's not just in LTL and food service. I heard it's the same way with fuel hauling, right? I've heard fuel haulers say that they have periods in which it slows down. So, it sounds like it's just the nature of the business, just being in this industry. Certain jobs out there have those periods where, it does slow down. So you have to account for that. So yeah, that can be a big financial mistake if you don't take that into account. All right. So another money mistake that truck drivers make, and this definitely applies to over-the-road drivers, regional drivers as well, and even if you're local to some degree, but more so OTR, right? One of the biggest money mistakes that OTR drivers make is spending too much money in the truck stops. Look, I know we got to pay for convenience, but have you guys really paid attention to the prices to those goods in the truck stops? Inflation is at an all-time high right now, right? Listen, I remember when I was a kid, I used to love Little Debbie snack cakes. I still eat them every once in a while now. But Dunkin' Sticks, fudge rounds, Swiss rolls, what else? Granola bars, all these different cakes, right? Oatmeal cream pies. They used to be $1. Me and my brothers used to go to the convenience store next to the school we used to go to, when we were kids in elementary school. We would go stop at this convenience store that was next door to the school and go in there and buy some snacks before we walked over to the school. And I would buy 4 snack cakes for $1. Those same snack cakes today, $2.39. $2.39 each. Unbelievable. But that's the world we live in now. So inflation is real. The cost of goods is through the roof. The economy isn't in the best shape. The unemployment rate, last time I checked, was around 3.7%, which is not too bad. It's been under 4% over the last 2 years. So that's, a good thing. I think it was a little over 6 million people unemployed in January. So that may sound like a lot of people, but in the grand scheme of things, it definitely could be a lot worse. So the employment rate alone isn't really an indication on how bad the economy is right now. It's still not in the best shape. So knowing that, we have to do a better job at being smart financially, making really good financial decisions so we can sustain the lifestyle that we have and not fall into that 44% category of Americans that can't afford a $1,000 emergency expense, or fall into that category of 6-figure earners who are still living paycheck to paycheck. I can't remember what that number is off the top of my head, but it's a pretty big number as well. And so at the end of the day, it's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you're able to keep, right? So look, we just gotta create those habits and create those disciplines around money that will put us in a good financial situation. We can't be going out here buying all these different items that's gonna put us further behind financially and dig a deeper hole that is going to be tough for us to get out of. So we just got to be smart, guys. We have to be smart. And a lot of people are coming into the industry now. A lot of people are coming into this industry. They're coming from jobs where they may have made $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. And now you're coming into trucking where you definitely can potentially make $70,000, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 plus your first year if you get with the right company. That may sound a little far-fetched to a lot of people out there, but there are new drivers who made six figures their first year in trucking. Even if you come into trucking and you coming from a job where you made, $50,000 a year, and your first year in trucking, let's just say you make $80,000, right? That's a pretty big increase. You almost doubled your salary, right? So that can be life-changing for someone in that situation. If you get a job and you're making $30,000 more a year, your lifestyle is probably going to change, right? Now, if you're able to make an additional $30,000 a year and not go out here and start spending more money, but maybe you start saving more money, delayed gratification, and then at a certain point, you can go out and start buying all the things that you want. Once you build up your bank account, once you start, paying off debt and doing some of those things that will allow you to have a larger cushion to where you can do some of those, extra things that you want to do. Because I'm not saying, you got to live like a monk and just not spend any money. I think it all comes down to what your financial goals are. All of us have different financial goals. All of us have, a different lifestyle that we're comfortable living or that we want to live. And so, to each his own. It's all about preference, and everybody has a certain way that they would like to live. And so whatever that looks like for you, then that's what you gotta, plan for. But have a plan. The last thing I want to say, as far as the biggest money mistakes that truck drivers make, this goes for the people who want to become owner operators. All right. Number one, before you decide to jump in and become an owner operator, whether you're a lease owner operator or just outright buying your own truck, understand the business. Do your research. Do your due diligence and understand the operating costs, understand the market in which you plan on doing business in, understand how much all of this stuff costs before you just dive into it. I know a lot of people say, well, make the first step and just go buy the truck, for example, and then figure everything else out as you go. To me, that's not necessarily a smart idea when you're talking about running a business. Most people, I won't say most people, a lot of people, they have a business plan, right? They have things wrote down, different processes and steps and systems and all these things in place before they just dive into starting a business, right? You have to take this stuff serious. And so be well informed before you decide to become an owner operator. Also, have some reserves in the bank before you decide to become an owner operator. I think all of these things are very important. If you do decide to lease a truck, read the lease agreement. Understand what you're signing up for. Don't get yourself in a bad lease agreement. When you become an owner operator, understand that you have to pay your own taxes. So you have to set money aside throughout the course of the year to pay those taxes at the end of the year. Just things like that you really need to be aware of before you start a business. So that's all I got for you guys, man. If you have any other big money mistakes that truck drivers make, you can definitely put it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about these things I just mentioned. Again, I definitely am guilty of some of the things that I talked about. I'm pretty sure a lot of us are. But look, at the end of the day, man, when you know better, you do better. So that's what it comes down to, and just building and creating those disciplines so that they become a habit to be better stewards over our finances. That's the plan. That's the goal. All right. That's all I got for you guys. Until the next video, I catch you guys later, man. Y'all take care. Peace.